Hi there, it's Paul from SET. I'm doing a live stream today. It's not going to be a very long one, but I hope it's going to be very useful. Because what happens with us as teachers at SET English, we often get questions and inquiries from people which ask us, should I do IELTS or OET? What's involved in OET? Should I do OET? And the really important question, when should I take my OET test? So we've done lots of stuff in the past about IELTS versus OET, and also around exactly what's included in the OET exam and how to prepare for it, how to study, etc. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to just go through a couple of questions for people who are really not sure. If you're sort of thinking, I don't really know what OET is. I've heard of IELTS. I'm not really sure. I've got to do an English test. Why do I have to do it? And should I take it? And then that final last question, when should I do it? What do I need to know? All those kinds of things. So I'm just going to answer a few of those questions. If you are online now, if you're live and you want to ask me any questions, that's great. I'd be more than happy to answer some questions. Hello, Shani. Shani's there. If anyone's got any questions, please let me know, and I'd be very, very happy to give a shout out, to answer any questions, and I'll respond to any comments that come. Okay, all right. So let's get started. First of all, these are the three things: IELTS versus OET. What do I need to know? When should I take the test? And I suppose it's all around this question of, should I take OET? Which loads of people ask us. It's understandable. Not everyone is from the same world as we are. You know, we think about OET every day. We do 4 hours a day of classes, so we're always thinking about OET. Sometimes we're reminded that lots of nurses and lots of doctors have never heard of it. Some people might now only be considering moving to OET. So let's go through it. Let's answer some of these questions. So first of all, let's do a very basic IELTS versus OET. Okay, IELTS is a very big exam. Okay, it's a very big, well-known exam. Okay, it's used by people for loads of different reasons. Okay, lots of different uses. Things like visas, university applications, professional accreditation across loads and loads of different professions. Okay, this is generally what it's used for. Okay, and it generally costs, accreditation. It generally costs around about £150, I think, is approximately the price. Okay, there are two different types. There's general and academic. In general, we use the general ones for the visas and the academic ones for these two. Okay, so most people study academic. And in terms of a healthcare setting, in terms of nurses and doctors, it will be the academic IELTS that you'd have to do. So academic IELTS contains things like many subjects. It might be tourism, environment, work, friendship, anything you can think of. All right, there's reading, writing, listening, speaking. Okay, let me pop that back up there. Sorry, that's not allowing me to do bullet points there. Try again. Reading, listening. Yeah, there we go. Writing and speaking. Okay, so we'll just put that there. So we've got reading, writing, listening, and speaking. That's what we're going to be doing. The writing, there are 2 tasks, which are quite complicated. Speaking, there are 3 parts in which you have to answer questions and also do a sort of mini presentation. Listening, there are 40 questions. Reading, there are 40 questions. And it's split into, this is split into 3 texts. This is split into 4 sections. Okay, and there are slight differences between these 4 sections. In the 3 texts, there are slight differences, different types of questions. It gets a bit harder as you go through it. Okay, so lots and lots of different topics, and there's a very big focus on vocabulary. Very big focus on vocabulary and grammar. Okay, you need to be really good at these things if you want to get higher scores. Doctors and nurses, healthcare, you're going to need doctors. You'll need 7 in all areas, minimum, with 7.5 overall. And nurses, you will need 7 in all areas, and 6.5 in writing. Okay, so that's what you need. That's IELTS. Very general, loads and loads of different topics, things that you might think about, that you might not think about, things which are interesting, things which are boring, things which are quite complicated in terms of the writing, very complicated. The speaking, if you don't really enjoy speaking much, then it's quite a difficult thing to do. So I would say that the writing and the speaking are the hardest parts of IELTS. You have to learn a lot about it. When it comes to OET, okay, OET is definitely used for professional accreditation, and it can be used for visas for healthcare professionals. Okay. Okay, this is what OET can be used for. It's much more limited. It's a smaller exam. Okay, so when you're thinking about IELTS, you're thinking 3 million exams a year. OET is a fraction of that. Okay, it's for a much more specific group of people. Okay, so it's for nurses and doctors. Okay, now it also has these 4 sections. Okay, it also has these 4 sections. Let me pop that down there. All right, now for the reading and listening, it's got 42 points. And you've got 3 sections. Okay, in the listening, you've got 3 sections, or they call them parts. Yeah, let's call them parts. That's the language they use. And there are big differences between the different parts, very big differences. And there's a range of different types of questions. In writing, there's 1 task. That's a letter. It's quite simple. Okay. In speaking, there are 2 tasks, but they're the same. Okay. They're the same type of task. For me, I think that listening and reading are the hardest parts. Okay. Up here, it's writing and speaking, and in OET, it's reading and listening. All right. Now, in this, there's a big focus on demonstrating professional skills. Okay, they are both English exams. Okay, but in OET, the idea is that you're demonstrating professional skills, not academic skills. Okay, but there is a big requirement for vocabulary. You might think, oh, but it's supposed to be all about healthcare. Okay, it's all about healthcare, but healthcare is a really large setting, and there's a lot of vocabulary. Not all of the vocabulary is related to medicine. So writing and speaking, not as difficult as in IELTS, but reading and listening, this is the place where people get stuck. All right. Oh, sorry, this is three parts. This is the place where people get stuck. They underestimate OET and they think, oh, it's easier because the writing and the speaking are not as complicated. But then they get stuck here because they don't realize how much vocabulary they have to learn. All right. So that's the sort of the basics around OET and IELTS. The scores that you need, okay, docs, you need B in all areas of medicine. All right, nurses, this is all, I'm talking about the GMC and the NMC here, but it's generally the same scores around the world. Nurses, you need B in all areas, and then C+ is acceptable in writing. There are some combinations that nurses can do, doctors cannot do. We've got more information about that on our website, and that's freely available on the NMC website as well. Okay, so in terms of professional, in the UK, it's NMC GMC, okay, for healthcare professionals. And it's the same here as well for healthcare professionals. So I think that's who's watching our video, healthcare professionals. So that's OET and IELTS. Of course, there's much more to say about them, but the main things are OET's healthcare settings. You can use it for your visa, and sponsorship, and you can use it for your accreditation. The writing and the speaking are not as tricky as the reading and the listening. Okay, so if we go to the next one, let's say that you're going to choose OET. Okay, what do you need to know? A lot of people say, I haven't worked as a nurse for a year, or I haven't really worked in an English-speaking environment. Okay, yes, it is definitely useful to have up-to-date English medical language. Okay, note that word, useful. I think most of the students that we have at SET English, they've got enough. Okay, I would say 99% of the students at SET have enough medical language to pass OET. Okay, so I know that sounds really crazy. It's an English exam, and you are definitely expected to have information about medicine, about equipment, about types of treatment or symptoms and things like that. But I would say most people have got enough medical language to pass OET. That's not the big obstacle. There is a lot of other vocabulary, okay? There is informal medical vocabulary. So examples that I always bring up are things like dimple, knuckle, okay, waist. Maybe these are things that you don't know because when you were at school or college or the jobs that you've done, you didn't see those words. Okay. We've got Annette there. Okay, that's good. Hello, Annette. Good to see you. All right. So informal medical vocabulary is important. We've also got idiomatic vocabulary. So idiomatic UK vocabulary or English vocabulary. So it could be something like, in one of the listenings, it says, knocked me for 6. It knocked me for 6. Okay, that means it had a really strong effect on me. All right. And then we've got kind of academic, there's no other way to put it, academic vocabulary for part C, reading. All right, so there might be things like inevitable, inexorable. I've seen these words in OET. Okay, collate. What else have we got? Correlate. These are kinds of words that a lot of people don't know. Okay, you wouldn't think that you need that vocabulary for OET, but you do. Okay, you need to learn it. So definitely, vocabulary is a big thing. But really, apart from that, what you need to have is a good general grounding in English language materials. Okay, TV programs, books, journals, magazines, newspapers. All right, these are the kinds of things that you should be thinking about, watching, experience, absorbing. After that, okay, that's just the language. After that, you need to learn strategies. Okay, learn strategies for the exam. Also, obviously, learn about the format. Okay, learn the format and the question types, etc. Then you need to get feedback. Okay, these are the things that you have to do afterwards. So what do I have to know? Okay, these are the things that you have to know. You need to improve your vocabulary. You need to improve your general experience of English. And that could be dramas, TV programs. It could be documentaries, podcasts, etc. All of these kinds of things. And then when you get there, you have to learn about the exam. You have to learn about strategies. You have to get feedback. Okay? Those are the things that you need to know. I did another video not long ago about how can I choose what training is good for me. So you have to also think about your schedule. When are you available? Are you okay to do videos? Do you want live classes? How much feedback do you want? How much interaction with teachers do you want? I've done a really good video on that where you can have a look at those questions as well. You have to consider that. But then, this is a really important question as well. You would think, when should I take the test? I think that that's a really important question. But unfortunately, lots of people just book the test and then think about doing training. So don't book the test and then consider training. Okay, don't do that. I didn't put the price earlier on, but OET is around about £300. It's about double the price. Okay, so it's approx 300. So it's double the price of IELTS. That's a lot of money for anybody to waste. We don't want you to waste money. Okay, don't book the test and then consider training because you don't know where you are in terms of your level. Your friend might have taken the test and passed it with no training, but that's not you. You might need 2 months of training. You might need 6 months of training. All right. Ask for professional opinion. If you don't want to do training, okay, if you want to just do your own studies, or if you do training and you just want to make up your own mind and you don't want to rely on advice from a professional or a teacher, I would say this is when you should take the test, okay? Take the test when, for reading and listening, you regularly score 30 plus. For speaking, you've had feedback on your clinical communication skills. Okay, you need to be scoring B. Okay, don't book the test until you feel really, really confident. Okay, get some feedback, do some practice, do regular practice with colleagues, with colleagues or with students. Okay, and writing, again, you don't know how good your writing is. All right, there might be some people who are really high level who say, look, I know that this is good enough. I've seen the model letters and mine's as good as that. But most students, they don't know. You do need to receive feedback. And it's not enough just to get feedback which says, okay, this is a C. You need to know how. So you need to receive comprehensive feedback on all criteria so you can work on it. Okay. Are you regularly scoring B? You need to be scoring B. Okay. Don't take the test until in all of these areas you've had some kind of professional feedback that tells you that you're ready. Now, I said earlier on, I think it's reading and listening that are the big problems. So if you've got pretty good English and you're working in an English-speaking environment and every day it's fine, there aren't issues with how people understand you, then your speaking's probably good enough. All right? If you have to write letters and if you've done studies in English where you've written essays and things like that, your writing's probably going to be good enough. The reading and listening, if you're studying on your own and you're not scoring 30 plus under timed conditions, don't take the test. You've got to get into under timed conditions and you've got to be strict on those times, and don't take the test until you're regularly scoring 30 or more. because on the day of the exam, you're not going to score more than you normally score. You're going to score less because of the pressure, the time, all of those kinds of things. Plus, use official materials. Okay, unofficial materials do not give you a good sense of what your real level is. Okay, so hopefully this was useful. If you want more information, if you've done IELTS before and you've committed a lot of time and money to studying IELTS, then it might be a good idea to stay with IELTS. If you're struggling with IELTS and you can't get past that test because of the speaking and the writing, then OET is the place for you to go. If you've never done any studies at all and you're a doctor or a nurse, I would say go for OET. Yes, it's more expensive, but it's more useful for you in your real life, in your job. It will teach you really good skills for your job, and also a lot of what you do in the writing and the speaking are things that you already do. Okay, so let's finish there. As I said, I hope that was useful. If you do have any questions, then just let us know. You can get in touch with us on our website. You can post messages on Facebook as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody's got. Have a really nice day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.